Yes, I know. Took me a while to get this one done. You ever sleep on a movie? Didn't see it in theaters, but when it hit streaming services, it turned out to be so awesome, you pretty much smacked yourself for not having seen it on the big screen? For me, one of those movies was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I promised myself not to make the same mistake when it came to the sequel, Across the Spider-Verse, even if it would be a while before I got to see it. Welcome to the review desk. I'm Desmond Carrick, and today I'm finally reviewing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The good. Let's start with the most obvious, the animation. Into the Spider-Verse had a unique style that was highly praised by both critics and audiences alike. Sony isn't as big of a giant as, let's say, Pixar in the world of animation, even though it seems that the quality of that studio's efforts have been steadily declining. Designs from Luca and Turning Red both look like 3D versions of the derided Cal art style. But in their heyday, Pixar focused on a hyper-realistic approach, especially when it came to backgrounds and object interaction. With Into, Sony hit it out of the ballpark by not following Pixar's lead, instead carving an aesthetically unique path that other films would take inspiration from. Sony could have been lazy and simply copy-pasted that same style. Instead, they decided to further innovate upon an already impressive accomplishment. Every world has a style of its own, emulated in the variety of Spider-Folk populating Spider HQ. In spite of shifting from style to style, like when we visit Gwen's world, it makes it even more immersive, as if you're not just watching what the characters are going through, you can feel it. And that right there is an aspect of film that I personally always look for: immersion. There were moments watching the film that swept me back to simpler times, like when Gwen shows up and takes Miles for an impromptu swing. I felt like a young man out of the blue having a nice time with a friend, where time stands still and you forget everything else for a moment. You just enjoy the present and relax. As I've stated before, the multiverse is a popular concept in current superhero movies. Across handles this concept better than some others. Ooh, excuse me. Across doesn't just visit other worlds or put many alternate versions of our protagonists in the background. There are serious repercussions to characters' actions, and they're integral to the plot in many, many powerful ways. Miles' entire origin is tied to the fact that one spider traveled to his universe from another, making him a multiversal anomaly. How is he even supposed to deal with that? The more villains in sequels cliche. A cliche in comic book movies seems to be, if there's a sequel, you need multiple villains. Villains who usually end up in some weird alliance that makes no sense. Spider-Verse handled it in a much more impressive way. The movie's main villain is the Spot, a scientist who got caught in the middle of a botched experiment and now has his body littered with various spots that serve as interdimensional gateways. I've always found him to be an interesting character in the comics from the moment he first appeared in Spectacular Spider-Man issue 98 and gave Spider-Man quite the challenge. In the years since, Spidey has developed means of dealing with the dappled delinquent, and sometimes he's relegated to comic relief, like in the incredibly fun Spectacular run drawn by Luke Ross. But he's still an impressive villain and shouldn't be underestimated. In this movie, his backstory and mannerisms make him a bit more sympathetic, but not so much that you consider being on his side. His actions still make him a bad guy. The other villain in the movie was a less obvious one. In the immortal words of Harvey Dent,
"You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain."
Going from hero to villain requires a phase of transition. The face of that transition is Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. Miguel is unhinged. It's said that he's the only Spider-Man who isn't funny. In the comics, Spider-Man is known for his banter, a tactic he uses to distract and frustrate opponents, a tactic that has worked for years. However, any other character will tell you that when Spider-Man's quiet, you better watch out. because the kitty gloves are off and he's far more dangerous. In the case of Miguel, they were never on to begin with. Due to a tragic incident inadvertently caused by his actions, he's become a man who deals in absolutes, determined to not let any universe suffer the consequences of similar mistakes. In that respect, he kind of reminds me of Batfleck.
If we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
While he doesn't work with the Spot, his draconian approach and militant mindset make him a huge obstacle to overcome, especially since he has amassed a literal army of spider people to help reach his goal. While he imprisons the villain anomalies like Rhino to send them back to their realities, it was obvious he was planning on keeping Miles perpetually locked up. There's been a lot of buzz online about the fact that Miguel looks different from his appearance in the first movie's post-credits scene. He's bigger, the spider logo design is more stylized, and as for his demeanor, he's a lot more stoic. And you know what? I love it. It's a testament to the adjusted art style of the sequel and makes him all the more menacing, even when his mask's off. This, again, is a credit to how well made this film is, since you don't question the design change too much. The first film was funny, really funny.
Alright, let me tell you the good news. We don't need the monitor.
Humor in Hollywood these days has become too much about reference to popular jokes like, "That's what she said," instead of original material. Into the Spider-Verse tried very hard to come up with original material, and it succeeded with flying colors. The sequel continues this tradition and tries to avoid jokes you've heard before, or at least give them a unique spin. I absolutely enjoyed the brooding Scarlet Spider straight out of the 90s. Even if you don't read the comics, you'll get a laugh out of him. This makes it easy to rewatch. But one aspect that really increases the film's rewatchability, a massive amount of Easter eggs. Easter eggs like the Bombastic Bag Man. This is a costume that Peter donned in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 258, when he needed to stop a robbery while Reed Richards was studying his symbiote costume. It's great seeing these references, and you don't necessarily need to know the comics to appreciate their sheer absurdity. There's a lot of talk about comic book movies becoming less popular and slowly losing relevance. This film proves that the problem isn't the genre, but the writing. Across is engaging, powerful, and downright impressive because it's brilliantly written. So no, the comic book movie isn't on its last legs, as long as the writing remains top-notch, and the writers get paid properly. The bad. Too much exposition. There are some exposition dumps in the movie. Some work, but some are unnecessary. An example is when Miles tries to teleport back home. The machine collects his DNA and deduces he's from Earth 42 and sends him there. When he starts to realize something went wrong, Gwen says, "He's in the wrong universe." We didn't need to have her say that. We already saw the number 42 on the machine, and the fact that Uncle Aaron is still around already revealed this without words. Alternatively, there are a few moments when there isn't enough exposition. Gwen refers to Miguel as a vampire, and we see him produce fangs as he attempts to bite Da Vinci Vulture. The Vulture? Anyways, this might lead audiences to believe that Miguel is indeed some sort of vampire. The truth is that in the comics, Miguel, like certain species of spider, possesses a venom he uses to knock opponents unconscious. Venom he distributes through a set of fangs. Is it creepy? Yes. Does it make him a vampire? Not in the slightest. A little clarification for the non-comic book readers would have been appreciated. As I stated, the film is funny, but some of the jokes are lifted from the first film, sometimes with little relevance. It's a shame because there was so much effort put into original jokes, only to take the same pratfalls of most modern movies that rely on reference instead of reverence. Verdict. A sequel that's even better than the original is a rare thing in Hollywood indeed. Empire Strikes Back, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and now we can add Across the Spider-Verse to that elite list. I'm going to award it 4 out of 5 Thunderbolts. I can't wait for the release of the sequel in 2025. Yeah, that's due to the writer's strike, a strike that is necessary. To see more, subscribe and check out my next video.